Okay, we're recording now. Marulda, please take it away.
Okay, sorry, I have something on my screen, but excuse me about that. I think
You
I'm just
can't.
using my laptop too much. I don't want to change my mouse and to a different screen. I have like two screens. Oh my God. Okay, it will log me off.
All,
Sorry.
all is good. Mridula, everything is good. You're totally fine. We see first slide.
Okay,
You can
cool.
go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. Sorry for this hiccup. I'm Ridula Alani. Welcome to Big Women in Big Data Communication and Career Growth session with Bob Loftis. Today's session, we are focusing on using LinkedIn for networking and visibility. Women in Big Data is a grassroots organization which started with 15 women in Silicon Valley in 2015 and grew to a global organization with several chapters worldwide. We have more than 16,000 members right now. Women in Big Data organizes several events in business and technical skills tracks. We organize several training sessions across the globe, collaborating with several corporate sponsors. WiBD provides a network for technical women from early career to women in leadership positions. Okay, here is how you can get involved. You can join our LinkedIn group or follow us on Twitter or on Facebook and attend our meetup groups. And companies can become sponsors by hosting such WiBD events like this. And now it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Bob Loftis. Bob is founder of Now Forward Coaching and provides career transition services. He works with his clients to use their talent, energy, and expertise to break through self-imposed limits to their success in career growth, personal relationships, and overall health. Bob has volunteered with WiBD for the past several years by speaking at our business skills events. Bob has won Trainer of the Year awards for his great work with WiBD and has a private coaching practice that is taking clients. He regularly volunteers his skills at promatch.org and meetups like WiBD and CSI 10. Bob also supports other nonprofits such as Bay Area Cancer Connections and Breathing Spaces. Please join me in welcoming Bob.
Thanks so much, Padula. I'm trusting that everyone can hear my voice and see the screen. Let me know if you can't see the welcome screen. So it's a great pleasure to be back with everyone. Quite a few people today, which is wonderful. So a little bit of my coaching background, although I spent many years at Apple in learning and development, mostly around product training, sales training. I've more recently gotten into career coaching and communications coaching with all these different influences. So with me, you get a mix of things, not just pure business, but a lot of looking at other levels of influence in our communication to drive our career positively forward. So one of the things that I found very helpful and gotten a good response from our meetings so far, even virtually, is to start off with a little bit of mindfulness practice. So recently I've learned about this process called havening. So I'll ask you to help me relax and help yourself relax a little bit and try this out. You can see me, so I'll demo it for you. But it's going to be like giving yourself a little bit of a face wash. And so try to sit in a comfortable place, or almost like a meditative pose. And you're going to start with your fingers around your jaw and bring them up around your forehead and back to the back of your head, come around your ears back to your jaw, and then come straight up again, covering your eyes, go back to the back of your head. With my hairstyle, it's very easy to do this. And you might find, even as you just start to do it, you exhale a little bit more strongly than you inhale. So I'm going to ask you just to do this for a few seconds more, noticing what changes might be happening within you. if you're into this stuff. And point out that if you ever feel a headache starting up, this is one way to try to offset the trajectory of that process by soothing yourself. It's called havening, like a safe haven. So we're right now in a very stressful time. There are a lot of things far beyond our control. People are finally getting out and not everybody's very happy. So practices like this can help you be more in control of yourself. So I hope that was enjoyable, and I would recommend it for you and for anybody who's close to you who's having a stressful time. It can come in very handy. So with this, I might not be, let me see if I can see the controls. I might ask one of my, there we go. So I'm going to put up a poll for you guys to just choose one of these because I want to get a background on the group's experience with LinkedIn. So I'm going to launch, what? Do you want to continue? Okay, I'm going to, okay, good. So it's up there. You should be able to see this as something you can click. Just one of those choices would really help us out. It helps me to know what level that I'm speaking to because we didn't have any filter for people to get in. And I took a best shot at what I thought would be helpful, what is usually helpful to my clients in general. So I'm going to give everyone a few more seconds to make sure you get out there to vote. And we want to keep that spirit of voting going for a number of months more. Okay. I guess everyone's had a chance. So I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So it looks like most people are improving as far as one category. The majority, though, are pretty good users. So 60% of you are using LinkedIn at least every day. And that's great. But I've always found it, I'm going to stop sharing that, to be useful just to point out that sometimes we're using LinkedIn every day and some basic things are missed. So we also have a chat, and if you have any specific issue that's bugging you about LinkedIn that I might be able to help you with, why don't you put it in the chat so that I'll get a sense of what the big issues are. And so far, nobody's put anything in the chat, and that's fine, because I'll imagine some issues. I have a good imagination. Okay, and if something comes up, just put it in there. Okay, curating your connections from NX. Is applying to jobs on LinkedIn effective? Okay, we can cover that. Good, so keep thinking about those and we'll monitor it. All right, so the goals for today, for me, for the group, is start out and help us be a little more centered and focused. Talk about the main elements for attracting views on LinkedIn. Talk about the importance of keywords, brevity, and action language in your profiles. How to build connections for job stability, and some tips and actual demos today of some things of you testing to see how well you stand out. You get some feedback. And you know, this is a lifelong goal for me to make life better. Don't we want those little girls to grow up to be really successful data scientists? Yes. Okay. So just to level set, this is the third in our series. And we started out talking about your brand and accomplishments. We talked about what's important with a resume. Let me see if I can bring this back here. Got a little out of hand. And having a source resume, which, you know, for my clients, their source resume is pretty much like LinkedIn. I don't see a big difference. And then take that into their LinkedIn profile, which is the topic of our talk tonight. And then develop targeted resumes for specific job positions. And we'll be dealing with that next time a little bit more. So if you follow the logic here, by the time you're out there networking and interviewing, you have a very solid foundation. And the truth is, nothing ever seems to go logically, sequentially anymore. So just make sure that you've got the fundamentals down before you're out there interviewing and doing the networking to get you the interviews. So what is LinkedIn? Social networking site designed specifically for the business community to enable registered members to establish and document networks of people they know and trust. So there are different opinions on this, but I tend to only connect with people I know. And if a recruiter asked me what I thought of them, would they fit for a job, I could tell them honestly what I felt and feel I was helping them out. So LinkedIn's founders wanted to establish a network of advocates. We're not always super friends, but we would be able to stand up and help somebody in our network get their job and feel that it would be reciprocal. So it's that kind of stability that we're looking for, because honestly, no company has any stability anymore. We think 3 years is about the longest seniority someone's going to have in their next job. And I do work with clients who've had 25 years at their last company, and it's a little shocking to be out there looking right now. What are the key profile elements for LinkedIn? So obviously those are there. There's a limit to the about section, which is kind of like your summary. But all of these things are really critical, some more than others. And again, it's going to be different than your resume because you can put more into LinkedIn in different sections. And one of the things that I hope is based on the session that we did last time, where you learned more about resumes and success stories, that you're able to get those same kind of results into your LinkedIn profile in different places, particularly your about and your experience section. So you probably know this. Before you make any changes to LinkedIn, it's important to turn off broadcasting to everybody in your network that you're making a change, unless you really want to. So if you make a whole lot of changes, keep it turned off and then turn it on and make one more change and everyone will see the new profile you have. So up here in the top right corner is that little picture of you, me. You want to go to settings and privacy and make sure that this is turned off. You have to scroll down to share job changes, education changes, etc. So use that to your advantage. Don't broadcast every little change you make. Also, some people who have really big networks have never gone in and cleaned up their URL. So this is how LinkedIn is going to put my source URL address after their tag there of IN/, then it'll be my name. Now it came with the default of all those numbers and letters. And until you delete that and click save, you won't change your URL. And sometimes you can't save it, so you have to make a unique name for yourself if you have more of a common name. And remember to save, and then you can go right into editing your profile from here. So one of the things that you experienced users know, any place where you see the pencil, the stylus, that you click that and then you can edit the information that's there. So this is a little bit more for the people who aren't using LinkedIn quite as much. So in general, I would advise you guys to make everything visible to everyone who comes into LinkedIn. The reason most of us are on LinkedIn is for visibility, so don't hide things. However, I have had clients who don't have their picture, for instance, and I ask them, you know, you should get a new picture soon, shouldn't you? And they'll say, no, I don't want anyone to see what I look like because I'm in cybersecurity. So that was interesting to hear. I suggested that maybe they could get a picture of themselves. You have to look at me in the camera on the screen now like this. maybe that might work. Bad joke. But most people need a good picture. So here are the tips from LinkedIn on how to choose a photo that really, choose one that looks like you in your current state. So having a photo from 20 years ago might work better on Tinder and other places, but not so good on LinkedIn. Your face should take up about 60% of the frame. Choose the right expression. So that should be a friendly, business-like expression. For most people, that would work best. Wear what you'd wear to work on a typical day. So not everybody gets dressed up, but some people do. So if you're in a suit and tie or a women's business suit all the time in your job, then you want to look like you're on the job. And then it's really a great idea to add a background behind your picture that doesn't distract, but actually augments your brand. If you haven't heard of Photo Feeler, put it down there in the sort of orange area. That is a service in which you take the photo you want to put on LinkedIn and you upload it, and other people will give you their impression of that, if that is a good photo for you to use. And the only way you get to do that is you vote on other people. So it's photofeeler.com. So it's something you might want to check out if you're concerned about your picture. So here's some examples of what I consider good pictures. They are recent. They support the positioning of the person. They're reasonably good quality. They're not all professional pictures, but it's a professional appearance. So what you'll notice about Ajay, the last one that appeared, he has a background photo of him at work, which is really great. So not only do you see him, and that's a pretty good professional studio shot, but you see the same person looking about the same age behind him working. So that's what he does. So it's a great attention grabber. And the other folks all have varying kinds of photographs, but you can see their face very clearly. And they have non-distracting backgrounds in their picture itself within the circle. So some suggestions for what you can do. Now, your brand is what you show on LinkedIn. So Gordon here has an interesting brand, quite possibly the only person on LinkedIn who isn't a results-oriented team player with excellent interpersonal skills, which is a play on don't use the language everybody's using. Very important to vary the kind of expressions of yourself so you stand out a bit more. Here are some overused buzzwords from a couple of years ago from LinkedIn themselves. And these are popular words, everyone's using them. So don't use them. You can come up with other terms like results oriented. Why don't you just show your results in your accomplishment statements as bullets under your chronology? Team player, you can describe how you influence teams. Excellent communicator, you may have a success story about how your ability to influence and persuade changed the course of a otherwise very stressed project. So watch out for these. So here is what I consider a good example. The background picture is kind of academic, classic. Sarah has a very good photo. It's not super, what's the word I'm looking for here? Photoshopped. It's just a good natural picture. And she has a very good header under her name. The areas that she's primarily interested in, plus a couple of her credentials. So she doesn't have to say a lot. That speaks for itself. And you'll notice here, she doesn't put the current company where she's working because she doesn't want to use this real estate up. She wants that to be mostly about separate from health centrics. She is who she is wherever she's working. So LinkedIn is about you independent of any current company, but you list your current company and other companies you've worked at. So there's no need for her to say health centrics there. I hope that makes sense. So optimizing and polishing your LinkedIn brand, you want to create something that's kind of enticing and intrigues people to read more. So you want your about section to stand out. And you can use in your about section some of your key accomplishments with descriptive, engaging action words. Action words are going to be much better than labels like I am a professional project manager. I manage projects to completion through the entire project life cycle, from early analysis through final evaluation and feedback. So here's some examples of headline options. So after your name, you might have something like your core competencies. Design-driven technology security analyst. That's a mouthful, but it's a description of what kind of security analyst this person is. Leveraging network management skill, leading security services. It's a pretty clear picture just from the header, what this person specializes in. This person in Future Focused is actually looking to maybe do a little bit of a pivot, maybe a little looser in their possibilities of the next job. Medical sales representative or account manager in dental or medical services or biotech with medical expertise, which is important in most of those jobs. Okay, I'm going to show you some more examples. So if a person, especially around project management, business development, supply chain, problem solving could be one of their primary values and skill sets. So a finance executive, strategic partner, and CPA driving financial health growth with reporting, alignment, proactive analysis. So it's a bit of a brand description right there in the header. If you have been working, you're currently at a company that is well recognized, you might see some benefit for putting that company in, even though LinkedIn already does it, as I mentioned earlier. Director of Operations at Amazon, technology transformation, e-commerce expert. So there again is a bit of a target focus. So I just want to stop for a second and let's look at the chat and see if any questions have come up. I'm taking a quick look here. They connect with me, but they don't get back to me. Yes. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. So if anyone has any comment about what I've talked about so far, I'm open to having you speak. My colleagues will need to look, maybe you could put your hand up and we can scroll through the video frames. If you have your hand up, they will unmute you so that you could ask a question. But if we don't see anybody or see anything, anybody putting up their icon for their hand, we'll just move on. But I like this. How do you get recruiters to find you in LinkedIn? Actually, that is the subject of our demo coming up. And so we'll have some time for Q&A as we get farther into the program. Okay, so you need to develop a strong about section. So I believe it's very similar to your resume. Some of you may hold on to the old school method of doing your resume in the third person, we say. Skilled project manager focused on delivering, ... And in LinkedIn, it's really important to be in the first person because that means you're speaking directly to the reader. First person intro of your brand, framed for your growth and direction. It says what your core strengths are, what roles you're targeting, what value you bring, your specialty, and it includes a skills summary. So to that point about how do recruiters find you, it's the keywords of your skills, and they're going to be all over the place in LinkedIn. So let's look at one example where they could be. I think you should be able to read this. So my colleague and friend and client, Bill, is a very creative person doing some very interesting work now. And he just tells you straight out, I transform websites into business assets through focus on the customer experience. I establish user experience practices with customer insights at their foundation and unify customer success with business success to generate enduring relationships. So he's really spent some time, crafted this, had a few iterations, and it's him speaking to you. This is the about section of his profile. But what I want to bring your attention to is at the bottom of his profile, he has a link to his portfolio of user experience, user interface projects, which in his case is very key. It's very important. You can't have all of that on LinkedIn, but you can link over and you can show some of them on LinkedIn in the key highlight section, I think it is now. But notice he also has his email address here for easy access. And then he has a collection of all these specialties. And he's using this very popular now and highly recommended method of having a space, the straight line, and another space. It's a separator that makes those phrases stand apart. But honestly, this is not written to be read. It's not read by a person. It's written to be read by a machine. So he's got loaded in his keywords, and that's how the recruiters find you. They are just going through, Boolean searches and algorithms that are going to find the best collection of keywords for that job and who comes to the top. And there are a lot of reasons why some people rise up above others, and we'll get to a demo of that too. So here's another example that's kind of functional. I lead organizations to financial health and sustained profitability, period. That's a pretty good, strong opener. I do things, I lead, I partner strategically with due diligence. Even, it doesn't matter that you're not at this high level, doing these big business deals. You say what you do that makes a difference. Okay. As a strategic partner, I build strong relationships with key leaders. As a financial planner and doing analysis, I developed, implemented financial measurements. In mergers and acquisitions, I led 10 million acquisition. And there's my email at the bottom. So again, there are a lot of keywords, but it's speaking about the focus, specialty of this person. So once the recruiter gets that profile provided because of the keywords, they read this stuff and it appeals to them because it's designed to be read, not a big, huge block of text with some white space in between. It also is really important to have recommendations, and they should be by someone who's senior to you, who can bear testimony that you do what you say you do. So you want to have recommendations for people who are other proof points that you can do the work, the jobs you're interested in getting next require you to do. Because the hiring manager and team are really not that interested in us personally. Some might be. Mostly they want to know, what can you do for us starting on day one? So if you have recommendations from someone at a high level who says you can deliver what they need, well, that really helps. So how do you get recommendations? Well, you can ask for a new recommendation right there in your recommendations list. One of the best ways, you go to the LinkedIn profile of the person you want to ask, and you know how you'll see message and more below their picture, right at their profile. In the more section, there actually is request a recommendation. So that's where you would click, and then it'll put you through this sequence of questions and details, and even write your message. So I would actually write what bullet points I wanted that person to recommend me for in that request. I was hoping that you might be able to write a few words around the following 3 areas. I felt that working with you on our major project was a pivotal point in my career, and I think of it very fondly. The areas that I felt very satisfied in my contribution were boom, boom, boom. If you could write something to that effect, it would be so helpful to me. I really appreciate your assistance and admire your style, because we do tend to kiss up a little bit in these things. Why not? People don't get enough credit all the time, including us. So anyway, that's what it looks like when you are asking for a recommendation. Now there's this other part called endorsements. So the reason I have this up here is that you are allowed 50 skills by LinkedIn. Use all 50 available slots, because those are the keywords that the recruiters are going to find you by as well. So not just the ones you feel really positive about, like 10 are my specialty. Go for all 50 that make sense for you. And then be sure to ask people to recommend you, to endorse you for the 3 that are most important for the next job you're trying to get. And you want to push those up to the top. You may have to hide other ones in order to get those to the top. But have 50 and make sure the top 3 you'll have some pretty good endorsements for. Okay, so keywords. How do you find out what the keywords are? Well, one way is using a word cloud analysis tool like tagcrowd.com. So I put a user interface design job description in and came out with this picture for free at tagcrowd.com. I asked it to show me the top 50 words that are used 3 times or more. And it shows me what words jumped out the most. And you notice there's nothing in here about supervision or management. So just by taking the job description and copying the text, putting it into TagCrowd, and setting the filters, I could ask the recruiter, I wanted to ask you, have you worked with this hiring manager before? Yeah, I have 3 or 4, 5, 6 open positions. And would you say that her job descriptions are really accurate? And she might say, yes, I think they are. Oh, good, because I want to be prepared. And I put the job through a filter and found that there was no mention of supervision or management, cross-functional or direct. And that's true, right? And the recruiter might say, oh, well, actually, she did mention something about you being in charge of vendor account managers in a kind of shared response. Oh, really? Was there anything else that she mentioned that might not be in the job description? So this is the advantage of tools like TagCrowd. Many of you have probably heard of jobscan.co. That is free for 5 times a month. You can take a job description, upload it, and then upload your resume, and it will do an automatic scan to tell you how good a match you are and what keywords you're missing. We covered this in the last section, but just a reminder. So it's important to discover these keywords. Now, your profile will be 100% complete when you have your photo, location, industry. Current position is helpful. So if you've been out of work for a while, you might want to become a consultant, even if you're not being paid, and have your own consulting business. So we say generally you can keep your last position in your resume and LinkedIn for up to 2 to 3 months after your last day. So don't run out and tell everybody you're no longer working there if you should get workforce reduced. And after that period of time, so like in month 3, you might load in that you started doing consulting 2 months prior. And so there isn't much of a gap, and they'll ask you about, what kind of consulting you're doing. it's going to be in the nature of your work. Honestly say, you know, I'm just, you know, striking out. I'm looking at some options. I'm talking to people that I've worked with before who need my kind of skills. And they might say, oh, well, you really want to be a consultant. Well, I have some interest in it, but what I really want is this position you're advertising, because it is exactly the match that I'm looking for everything I bring to bear. You need at least 2 past positions with your education, 5 skills in the skills and endorsements, and at least 50 connections, but that's a real beginner's amount. So you want to grow your network to be at least 100 and keep going. The magic number is 500. That just gives you algorithmically the best advantage of knowing someone who knows someone you need to know. You want to join groups, and we can do a little demo of that this evening too, if you like, especially a few of the larger ones, because your activity in groups, you don't have to pay for LinkedIn Premium to join a group. And once you're in a group, they keep changing these things, but my understanding is that you can send a message to a fellow group member without having a first level connection. So that's a way you could start to meet someone who could help you. Maybe they work at a target company of yours. So build that target company list, and who do you know who works there? Who in your network knows somebody? And you'll see this in the demo that we do. The more you post and update, the more that you like, and in particular, the more that you comment on someone's post or mention or like, even not like so much, but shared post or comment. The more that you comment on that with 3 hashtags. So the magic number is 3. Charles, so glad I'm in this group now. I see that you have a common interest as mine in hashtag embedded, because hashtag machine learning has been so critical in developing my hashtag AI career. LinkedIn boosts you up when you do 3 hashtags, from my understanding. And I don't know exactly why, but it seems like a good number. And then, you know, advanced search is a good way to filter out and get more details as you're trying to find people to join your network, and who else might be at the 2nd and 3rd level for you. So we're going to do a little demo now, but I want to look back here to the chat room just for a second. And I'll just answer a couple of questions.
Yeah, hi Bob, it's Regina. There's one regarding difference experience with a woman to write the about versus a man for perception.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, in general, not all men are as confident and assertive as some people think they are. So everybody needs to be confident and assertive in writing in a natural way about your abilities and your enthusiasm. So as mentioned in our previous sessions, there are only 3 questions that a recruiter and a hiring manager and a hiring team are really looking to answer. Can you do this work? Do you really want to? And will you fit in with us? So you don't want to be over the top, super excited and silly, but you do want to show that you're passionately involved without using the word passionate, because that's overused. So let's say in an interview question, I might say, as a man or a woman, I actually get really excited about this kind of data resource work. I find that my experience previously with different kinds of tools and applications shows me that you can make a lot of mistakes. And what I've really enjoyed is using my go-to tools to get results as quickly as possible. So whether I'm a man or a woman, you want to speak that way and write that way. So one thing that women do tend to do a little bit more than men, but it's speaking rather than writing, is up-speaking. So that is one thing I always advise women. You can use it in tribal discussions when you're with friends and they're all up-speaking, but for the way you write and the way you speak in interviewing, you want to keep neutral and command language, which means you wouldn't give a fact as a question. Well, I'm really confident about doing this. I am. No, you don't want to do that. I'm exaggerating it. But anyway, so hard to say. Maybe we can look at some examples when I go live about a women's profile, and we could compare and contrast.
There is a question in the
Mhm.
chat. What is upspeaking?
Well, okay. So, Regina, can you do a good upspeak? No, she can't.
I can try.
Okay, try it.
Let's see.
Regina, how did you feel about organizing that project last week?
Oh, well, I think I did a pretty good job
Mm-hmm.
versus I did a great job and we increased the revenue 10x. I think that's what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I have another, you'll have to see my hand here on screen, but there are 3 ways in conventional, traditional English, which is always changing, by the way. When we ask a question, our voice goes up. Would you like to do that? It goes up. I'd like to do that. Neutral, that's a fact. We're going to do it. So there's a little difference. We're going to do it. So those are the 3 primary ways. So when you're in an interview, and even think when you're writing in your head, facts and a little bit of command, unless you really want to bring up a question. I've often been asked, is Waterfall truly the best project management system? Methodology, whatever. That, could be in quotes as a question. But most of the time, we're not writing questions, and we are asking questions in an interview, but we don't want to go down that trail. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to look back up here too to see what else might be here. And sorting by closeness. I'm not so sure about, I don't think I've actually done that by closeness. I mean, mostly it's miles, I think, distance between. So you can constrain the distance in the filters, I believe. Is it possible to ask a colleague from LinkedIn for a recommendation for a job? So if that means who works at the company LinkedIn, yeah, if you know that person, but I wouldn't start out with, can you give me a recommendation for a job? I would say, how's it going at LinkedIn? I'd like to, when things open up more, I'd like to take you to coffee 6 feet away and pick your brain about what it's like working at LinkedIn now. I myself have done that, got great results from it. The whole point of networking on LinkedIn is to make closer contacts and not just about getting a job. It's the long run. I connect with people regarding opportunities and request them to put me in touch with the hiring team. They connect with me on LinkedIn, but they don't get back to me with a phone chat that I requested or put me in touch with the team. Any suggestions on how to improve the rate of response? Yes. So one thing is to offer them something positive. So let's say you're in between jobs and you have some time and you're doing research, and this person you're asking is in the same field and you see something really interesting. So you would send it to them, perhaps on LinkedIn or as a email, and attach that link or the actual article and say, hey, I thought you might be interested in this. I think this is a very different perspective, and I'm going to find it very helpful in my next position. And, see what you think. And I'd really love to be able to connect and talk a little bit more about what's going on with you. Do you think we could have a 15-minute chat soon? And, I'll check back in with you later because I realize you might be very busy right now. Really appreciate it if you could. So you have to be polite, respectful, and not a pest, but offer something. Now, the thing is that people will not respond if they haven't been in the situation of being between jobs and dependent on other people to help them. So like if you yourself have been working steadily all the time and someone asks you for that, you might think, I don't have time for that. But a wise person who's really awake to what's going on in Silicon Valley in particular knows that you might need that person next time. It's very reciprocal. So it's not just about you, it's about both of us and the safety net we're building. LinkedIn jobs seem to be just collecting data, very difficult to get through to interview. Any suggestions? I wish, when we do, as I keep mentioning, we'll do a little search, but it's going to be around keywords, and luck is what happens when you're really ready for it. And so this kind of foundational work that you're doing, all the stuff, if you're job hunting, all the stuff you do that's purposeful along the lines of what we've been talking about in this series on women in big data is all work, part of your job called getting a job. And it's frustrating at times. People just don't respond sometimes. How much of a difference have you experienced with how a woman, yeah, okay, that's what we talked about. I really haven't myself, to tell you the truth. Magic numbers for connections, 500, yep. And for tags, 3. Oh, she kept notes. Unspeaking, yeah. The scan software company recommends using keywords in the LinkedIn profile jobs section. I wrote to them to let them know that at many companies, including many of my former employers, if you deviate from your internal job description, that employer cannot tell you to change it. But in management meetings, many managers and senior leaders question if the employee is loyal to the company. I've also been told to give my staff a lower bonus rating when their LinkedIn posts are different. This is why you see a lot of employees not list their duties, just company descriptions and or titles. Wow. Yeah. So there is a part of this. It's about your values and where you work. Do I want to work at a company that does that kind of stuff? That is what's called a fixed mindset. You know, the work of Carol Dweck at Stanford. There are growth mindset people, Steve Jobs, a very good one, and fixed mindset people. Think of that boss who micromanaged you. They want to control everything. They want to know everything about your growth because they don't think they're going to be growing much anyway, and they're kind of threatened. So I might be exaggerating in this a bit, but I would say that reflects back to the environment. Do I want to be in that environment? So I guess that's a word to the wise. Be careful. Generally, I do think that when a person is doing great work and they're very consciously visible to their manager and the larger company that their work contributes, they become more marketable and people want to keep them there rather than lose them. So if they see they look really great on LinkedIn and they're telling the truth, it may be a little more, broader than their specific job title responsibilities. But most of us break out of that pretty early on, don't you think? I mean, we have the job description and then everything else that we're supposed to do, which is most of the 80% of the 100. So yeah, that's a good point to keep in mind though. They're all jumbled. Oh yeah, well you can filter out to first level, second level, and third level when you're searching, if I understand that right. On there. So what recruiters tell me is that basically they've set up a lot of standard Boolean logic searches, and they will go into it because it's a big chunk of text, and they will adjust it to the job description they're looking for. And based on their own experience, they might say, yeah, probably they're going to need someone with more of this. And then they let it go. And that's what it goes out to find. So it's on keywords. Basically, that's it. How to approach a potential mentor. That is a great idea. We all need more mentors, don't we? I mean, once you get into that position, I hope you will be a mentor. Regina is a mentor. You know, in Women in Big Data, all the, you know, the inner core people are helping and mentoring. This whole thing we're doing now is networking and mentoring. It is kind of the thing that brings out the joy of working with people for a common mission and getting great results. So I think with, you know, you have to develop a rapport with someone. You can't just ask them out of the blue. You know, I really like your style. Would you be my personal mentor? It's probably not going to work. However, if you can get their attention by submitting some examples of things that are interesting they might like, somehow getting messages to them about appreciation and inviting them to be part of a larger group, whatever. But you've got to build some natural rapport, and then I would definitely ask them to be your mentor. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to go to get out of PowerPoint, and I'm going to the beloved LinkedIn. Where are we at here now? Sorry, it's getting a little small on the screen for my mature eyes. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen again. And, and there's Tina Tang, one of the founders of Women in Big Data. Oh, sorry, here she comes. Can everyone see that now on your screen? Can anyone tell me if they see this on their screen? It's Tina Tang on my news feed.
Yeah, we do. We see Tina. Sorry.
Okay. And you notice Tina is modeling what I just said. First day, new role. So she just needs one more. But she's very good networker, as many of us know. Okay, so what I need now is a suggestion. And maybe Stella, you could, well, no, we decided Stella might be a little. Is there anyone there who could say in the chat that they wanted to go live to be able to speak so we can unmute you? This would be somebody who has a profile that they've targeted for a certain kind of job, and we're going to see what recruiters would find if they were looking for you. Any volunteers? Okay, so let me just see.
So we can, if there's no volunteers, I'll be your guinea pig.
We have 3 volunteers in the chat window.
Okay, and is it pronounced Chidam? Oh,
Yeah.
she. Okay, and you can speak.
Let me see if I can unmute her.
I hear you. Are you there? Okay, well, I think we have a problem. We have to go to Chanda. We're going to work our way through the list. And, I know there are a lot of people on this call, so it might be hard to, let's see. So if you can't be unmuted, Chidam, why don't you type in the message to everyone, the job title you're looking for.
Hey, both Chandra and Shadam are unmuted.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
Chandra.
Chandra. Okay, great. Okay. So
My
now, yeah.
yes was actually to whether or not we can see your screen.
You can't see my screen?
No, I was just responding that I could see your screen.
Okay, great.
My LinkedIn profile is not one to look at right now.
Oh, okay. But you have been actively trying to, are you looking so that you would like recruiters to find you?
I actually have some of the opposite problem. I get hit up by recruiters daily, which I
Oh,
find hysterical. If you want an example of what not to do on a LinkedIn profile, you can look at mine. But I
okay,
get hit up by recruiters daily.
okay. How about Chanda? Could we take you as an example of your, active interest in presenting yourself in the best way for a specific job? Can you be unmute, Chanda?
That was me talking.
Oh, that was you, Chanda. Sorry. Then it
Okay.
was Chidam.
I think those three were answers to the previous question.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have Jaya. She says
Yes,
she.
Jaya. So Jaya, we just need to know your.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Shall I type in my LinkedIn profile here for you to open up?
No. Like what I would like is for you to tell me your last name and spell it.
Okay, it's a long one. Maybe I'll type it out. It's Surya Devara.
Okay. Oh, okay. You're typing it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Thank you.
SUR, a single R. What? Yeah,
Okay.
but there can't be too many with this, so you'll hit it.
I got it?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And where are you working now or your last company?
Actually, I'm coming back into workforce, so that's exactly why I'm here.
No, you're here. Good place to be. Okay. You're coming back. Did you have a LinkedIn?
Yes,
Before?
I do have a LinkedIn profile. If you can.
When was your last job company?
Many years ago in 2004.
Yeah, but let's say if you have a LinkedIn profile, it's going to have your most recent company. That's how I'm going to find you on Google.
It is LA Times.
What was that again?
LA Times.
Oh, okay. Nice paper. Okay, so what I want to show everyone is this is the fastest way that I find someone on LinkedIn. I use Google. So let's see what happens. Ad, because they pay.
That's me.
There you go. That's not bad for being out of the workforce. So that's hopeful, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so there you are. Good photo. You might be able to smile a little bit more in the next one. Okay, I'm just rearranging my screen with lots of stuff happening here. Setting it up so we can see this. Oh, that's right. I have to keep it here. Okay, I won't be looking at you guys as much. I'll be looking at my bigger screen. Okay, so there you are. Senior full stack developer in Alamo, LA Times. Okay, so, it's a little skeletal, we could say, a little thin.
It is.
Now, tell me what job you would like to go for. Is it going to be senior full stack developer?
Full stack developer, senior full stack. I'm open to all of them, and that's what I wrote in the about section.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to look for a person who can type. A full stack developer.
Yes, there you
Okay. Now, what kind of a full stack developer? What is your focus? Is there anything in particular?
go.
Any technology?
Web services, JavaScript, Node.js.
Web services.
Yes.
Okay. Web services. Anything else?
Revenue services.
Revenue?
Mhm.
Okay. So you see, these are keywords too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's enough for now. So I'm going to click search and it'll just, do its little default, but I'm going to go up here and find people. And those people are going to be any level connection. People were asking about that, but you want to stay in this area, right? For your next job.
Yes.
So I'm going to put in San Francisco Bay Area and make sure you click apply. And I got 1,700 competitors for
Yes.
you. So this is a very simplified way of what a recruiter's doing.
I understand.
The recruiter pays a lot of money for much more fine filtered searches with those Boolean logic searches. But as we scroll down here, you see all the folks.
Mhm.
And what I like to do with clients is, how far do we have to go to find them?
To reach them.
For me, I had to go to page 18. I made a couple of changes and then I was on page 12. But I have clients who are like number 3 on the first page. I'm not as actively marketing myself.
True.
So, you know, it's not as important for me right now, but you get an idea. So let's go back here to the first page. And the number 1 person, actually, I know somebody that knows Rovan. I'm going French there instead of Hindi. So let's just look. So good picture, but it's a little too much of him. You know, that could come in, but he doesn't have a background shot. It's okay, you don't need one, but it helps. And you notice the unused real estate. Allied LinkedIn puts that there, so this is not that helpful. And let's see what he says about himself. Oh, there we go. So that's one reason why he is so high up in the list. Now, more than 3 years, that's okay. I don't encourage people to say 20 plus years unless they're going for CEO. So, you know, in his case, this is good for what it looks like his age. He has 3 years, and that's a good, you know, bit of experience, but it's all filled with technical terms. Plus, smartly, he has his email right there. And then he puts his resume into, and he's a networker. I'm current student at Santa Cruz Masters, and I'm looking for summer fall internships. He's helping a friend, which is good. But by the way, yeah, let's see. So then we go into, so here he has a lot of keywords in his chronology. Design, developed, student assistant, software engineer, developer, his universities, you know, so it's a pretty good, but it's not super great, but it's a good complete, and he's got 500 plus connections. So why do some people appear in a search more than others? So they could pay LinkedIn. So if you have premium, that bumps you up.
Sure.
You could put in activities like hashtag and, you know, 3 in the comments, that bumps you up. You could publish a post, you could comment, you could share someone else's post, you could be very complete. All of those things really help. And as far as a recruiter specifically looking for you, I think we found an example that loading it up with keywords is really good. So let's go back here and look at yours. So what about this background photo business? So,
I didn't think of it, to be honest. So
yeah, and a lot of people wouldn't, but I know I'll show you guys this wonderful resource, unsplash.com. And I'm going to type in here one of my favorite things to do, light bulb. Now, for a lot of people, a light bulb is a good symbol of their creativity. So these are free high-resolution photographs that you can download. And like this one right here, that's, you know, the trouble when they're vertically oriented, they don't fit as well on LinkedIn as horizontally. So I might look for something more like this one, or even this one over here. And if I want to use it, I would just go here, click, and it wants to download it. And it says, say thanks to Jack Carter because it's his photo and you got to use it for free. So I highly recommend this. I give them credit, you know, in the slideshow I was in. Maybe I got to do this. Cancel. Okay. The slides that I use today use backgrounds from Unsplash. So that's one place you can go, and you know, maybe nature is good. Maybe you're a lab technician, and oops, didn't change it. You could put in lab and get laboratory, and this is, you know, more for pharmaceuticals, biomed stuff, but there's lots of things. Yeah. Anyway, feel free to explore that. It's a great resource.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. So let's go back. And so let's see. So you're being honest here.
Absolutely.
And I have to say, in one of my job search success teams, when I was looking, we had a woman who had done the same thing for about 5 years. She was in marketing, and she joined our weekly group and said, I'm never going to get a job. I've been away too long. And the way she talked and behaved, we all thought she's going to be the first one. And she was. She got a job at Ruckus Wireless. Since then, they've been purchased, I believe. And she started in customer support right next to marketing, making her move eventually. So I wouldn't talk about this. I would just say your strengths. Like, they don't need to know about that. You are a software engineer. You're in transition. You've done this kind of work. There'll be some objections, right? We covered this in the previous one, and you have to be prepared for that. But you haven't worked for, oh, that's true, I haven't. But I'm still up to speed on my skills. I've been doing courses on LinkedIn Learning, and I've actually taken a university college class recently on I would mention that there is a group in Sunnyvale called novaworks.org that is government funded, that can help people when you can honestly say, if you had a certain certification or coursework, it would help you get your next job. They will pay, I think, up to $10,000 to support you doing that. So just something to keep in mind. Okay. All right. So this does have to be a little bit more about your results. Featured Watchtower. Oh,
those are apps that I built recently to showcase mine.
Perfect. Great. Good. Yeah, so you've been active. Now, the language you use here, the same on your resume, worked with is not as impressive as key contributor to development of J2EE XML, right?
Starting to get that.
Yeah. And this is the time that we take as much credit as we can, as long as we can honestly do it.
Yes.
I hope that helps, because I do think that language is really important. Yeah, okay. Now, I'm going to ask, does anyone else want to try the same thing? And maybe my associates could find you in chat. Anat?
Anat, yeah.
Anat, okay.
Your voice is very faint.
No, I wasn't speaking before. Am I unmuted now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm sorry, oh, there we go. Okay. And where were you, or are you now working, Anat?
I used to work in a company called Power Signs. It's one word, and the sign is SINES. I'm also a returner or a launcher or something.
We're glad to have you back. Okay. Power Signs. Great.
But it's not an American company, so we'll see.
Okay. So the reason I do this is, instead of LinkedIn, it's faster on Google. They have a better search engine than LinkedIn. There you go. You're number one.
Yeah.
and you didn't pay any money, which is good. So you will need a picture. It should be,
Okay,
yeah.
so that's my wrong profile. That's not my,
Ah,
it's my other, apparently I have another one.
oh,
The one be on the,
your
yeah,
doppelganger.
I didn't know that. So that's weird.
Well,
I should be the one lower, a data analyst, blah, blah, blah.
okay, well, wait. Is that just another instance of you?
It must be. I'll have to check how I can remove it.
Okay, so this is a common issue with people who, someone said, you got to get on LinkedIn. And you said, oh, yeah, give me a break. I'll do it. And then 3 years later, now I got to get serious. So, I'm not saying that happened to you, but it does happen to a lot of people. I think that you can merge your old profile into your new one, and the LinkedIn help will show you how to do that. But if you don't have access to the original one because you forgot your access password, etc., then you have to ask LinkedIn to do it.
Yeah,
Okay?
I think it was marketing that asked me when I was still working there. They asked everyone to have profiles on and stuff like that, and just
Yeah, right.
be visible.
You were forced. It was a corporate culture pressure.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's even in the Israeli one.
Okay.
So my second one, the second link is my
Professor?
real. No. The second from the top. There is a professor, but that's not me.
Oh, this is you?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Is this one you're using now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Good picture. Nice nature scene. Uh, Data analyst, business analyst. You should have some sort of separator here, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so these are two titles. So you'd want to have something here. I like to use the Spanish tilde symbol, the squiggly line, because this is different now. I'm experienced problem solver and I'm available to new projects. So I would say don't advertise that. Now, I've gotten pushback from recruiters, but I like to say everybody on LinkedIn is currently seeking new opportunities. So you don't have to say it. I would change this to just recruiters, not to broadcast to everybody. Because, like, I'm just getting back in the job market. Well, you don't have to know that. Well, mostly they're going to be interested in you for the experience you bring at the moment and who you are, separate from some of that other stuff. I know it sounds like there's a conflict there, but it's a stronger you if you just go with your strengths, not the gap. And if there's any way you can, change the gap, that's great. Oh, I know Suzanne Tolhurst. Okay, see more. Yep. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, so it's a sizable gap, 8 years. So generally what, a career consultant would say, this is when the network is everything. More than applying and even LinkedIn. I think, you could make a strong LinkedIn, modify a few things, get more connections. You only have 203. So it's going to be the network who will personally introduce you to the new position.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
And then as far as that other you that's up there, see if you can, here's like what I would do. In that little me, you go down to help. And
March.
see. Let's see. Okay, let's see if merging or closing duplicate accounts. Okay, so there's instructions. Duplicate skills. Yep. So maybe you can do it. Maybe you'll have to ask them for help, but let's hope that you can. So I hope that was a little helpful, Anat.
Yes, thank you.
And straight ahead, keep going. I think parents make the best workers.
So just to clarify, you're saying use the tilde to separate my description from my business title, the business title I want, the role.
Yeah, let me see. Let me see an example here. Maybe Michael. Let me see how Michael has it. Yes. So see, Michael has a title, which is Senior Director. And then he says, different than my title, I specialize in software services and operations. And then this is the tilde. This is even different more. Achieving business outcomes with technology. That's a branding statement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. And he is a rock climber, so that's pretty cool. That brings up a discussion right there. And let's see, let's go down about. So it is possible to put spaces in, and I think it's easier to read this than it is yours, Anat.
Mm-hmm.
And then he even did this from one of the recommendations that he got. It's important to him, but it was third level important, and LinkedIn only shows the top two. So he put it right in his about. Also, if you have somebody from the past who would give you a great recommendation on your technical skills, but they're not doing LinkedIn, you can ask them to email you the text. And you put it into your about in quotes with the name of that person, their title, their company, or maybe, you know, their title, company, and then say retired, whatever. You don't even have to put this in there. It's obvious to the reader when something's in quotes and it has this. So I'm always thinking of efficiency and the space. So, you know, don't put titles where you don't need them. And I asked him to add this. I am recognized as a complex problem solver, experienced leader, strategic thinker. You know, those are, and here are some competencies and keyword areas, a little bit like that. Okay. Thanks, Anat.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, great. This is Tina. They paid for my Salesforce administrator certification. Fantastic. Yeah, you can put your resume into LinkedIn. I would do it in a PDF form so that things don't get jumbled up. Okay.
And I think there is a comment from Tina saying like smiling too much is discouraged in the profile photo.
Yeah, I think it's pretty, so I'm a practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. So I think about a lot of other things in building rapport with people and how people behave. So for some male executives, they may think a woman smiling means they're just too nurturing, or they're not assertive enough, or, you know, strong enough in their, you know, delivery of their leadership principles. So I would vary things up. I wouldn't always be smiling, but I'm kind of nervous around people that never smile, to be honest with you. Think of some leaders who never smile. They're a little troubling. Now, if they're a military general or whatever, you expect them not to smile that much. And when they do, it's a relief. But you already know that they have assumed authority. So another thing for women to do, you could smile and still use command language. Yes, I'm realizing that it would be a good idea for you to do that now. That's kind of a command. I exaggerated a little bit. You wouldn't have to be quite as deep on the down. But smiling, you know, you got to read the other person. It's always in context. What are they doing? For instance, look at Michael here. This is what I told Michael. Michael, you look very intense. And he is intense. And so he's representing himself very clearly, but he has a great smile when he uses it, and he has a pretty good sense of humor, but he's a little more serious. So you got to know your audience. So I think women just need to be aware of who they're with and change their behavior a little to mirror somewhat of what the other person is doing. Whole nother topic for discussion. Okay. All right.
We have, Bob, we also have one request. Could you please, from Gulia, could you please give advice to person who is going to change career from web development to data science?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll start out a little bit, but I think my colleagues here will be even better. So we'll be searching for that. Yeah, this is great. So good luck. This is wonderful. You should be able to do it. So it's called a pivot, and you have to look at titles for job descriptions of data scientists. So let's look. Now, I'm with a lot of experts here. So you tell me, what are some keywords to narrow in on, say, well, let's say like at Netflix, there are a lot of members from Netflix. What other filter keywords would we put in?
Giving advice on deep learning.
Deep, what was it?
Deep learning.
Okay.
Maybe.
AI.
Machine learning.
Machine.
AI, machine learning. Okay, I see.
Okay. Maybe that's enough for now. So we're going to do a search. And so you could either look up and find people, or you could find a job. So this came up as a job at Apple. And AI data scientist, senior data scientist, deep learning. Let's just, it's in New York, but what do you think, Stella? Should we do Apple machine learning?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm
okay.
in the field.
And see more. Okay, so what I would do is copy all of this text, put it in a Word document, and make it easier to read. But here are the things when you're making a pivot you need to be good at. And of course, this is Apple Computer that's going to put you through quite a screening process. And here's where you think on your resume and your LinkedIn, you want to have proof points that you already do this. So you want to have a success story about how you were a self-starter and used your leadership skills to drive a team towards a positive result. You want to talk about problem solving and critical thinking that help change the course or get to the seemingly impossible deadline that everyone faced. Able to work well with diverse roles. So everything that's listed here, you have to have something to say about it, including TensorFlow, PyTorch, Python, Scala, Java, Spark. You know, they're going to want this kind of stuff, ability to implement data science pipelines and applications. So they want someone who can do that on day one. You going for this job, Stella?
No, that's somebody named Gulia.
Yes, I unmuted myself. The problem is that, like, you know, I will not be able to apply for senior position because I will just finish master degree, yeah.
Okay.
So, but my point is, because I have experience more than 15 years as a full stack actually engineer in my company, in the same company. It's probably not a good also like kind of experience to have a resume from exactly only one company. But anyway, so I decided to change my career completely from basically full stack to data science because it's very interesting. But my question, like, I understand that I should emphasize on data science skills, but I should also mention my full stack development skills, of course, because I had 15 years, more than 15 years of experience. So basically, I have a question. So how make my resume visible to others even if I don't have like such deep experience with data science, like how should I like
Okay, well,
something like this?
one thing you could do in groups is I'm going to look in groups.
Mhm.
So you would join one of the 3,524 groups on LinkedIn for data science, machine learning, data mining. It goes on and on and on. Maybe there's women in big data here. So let's look at Data Science Central. And I'd have to request to join. About this group, datasciencecentral.com, community, 5 work. Oh, fascinating. They work at Lee Hecht, are in health, wellness, are located in the Bay Area, related groups. So to find out more than this, I would have to join the group. And if I were you, I would join a couple of these groups and I would try to make some friends there. Also, you're doing the right thing by being in this group, because there are members here who I'm sure will be willing to have a virtual or actual coffee talk with you about their advice to you on how to do this. Because you want to talk to current data scientists who might have a background in full stack development. That would be the best. What was it like for you to make this transition? What tips would you give me? What courses should I take? Books I should read? Who else should I talk with? So you need to, right now, in parallel with your degree work, start developing some people. And the best kind are the ones who actually have full stack development and are now data scientists. So let's do that then. Okay. Data scientist. Okay, and we're going to look for that in, oops, it always does that, people. And to go back up here, and it's going to be in San Francisco Bay Area, and any number of connections. So there's 1,000. Data scientist plus full stack developer. Full stack developer, data scientist. So there you go. So there are people that I would try. So let's see. Oh, interesting. Okay. So you can ask somebody, and believe me, I cannot do this for everybody on this call, but you could ask me, as someone who knows John Cleveland, who's one of my clients, to introduce you to Ken. And John might say, I don't really know Ken. You know, I was just starting on LinkedIn. I was trying to build my network. Oh, well, we tried anyway. Because you never really know in this, who knows who. But let's see. Okay, so there's quite a number of people. And they, oh yeah, there's a couple of other folks that I know. And she's a very successful coach doing breakthrough work like I do. Data scientist, full stack developer. So do you see what I'm doing? This is why LinkedIn is so incredibly valuable and why it's so important to have 500 or more. And you might think to yourself, geez, I have 200. How will I ever get to 500? Put your attention on it. Where your attention goes, your mind follows. And every day you're joining, meeting new people through groups, connections that you know, you're asking friends. Does that help?
Yes, yes, thank you.
So I think just full speed ahead, do all these different things and really make some new friends within women in big data, especially anyone who might be also a full stack developer doing data science now.
Thank you.
Huh. Okay, just looking if we missed anything.
I had a question about you just showed one profile and there was a question, there was a resume right there in the profile. I've seen it several times and I think it's wrong, but I was wondering about your opinion on that.
Let me see, where was it?
Yeah, there was a young gentleman,
Yeah.
but I've seen it many times. My daughter had the profile there. I mean, her resume there. And I suggested to remove it. Yeah, this guy, exactly. Does it make sense to have it there?
Um, you can. I don't. I think LinkedIn is your resume. You know, I'd rather have control of sending a version of my resume that I knew was in the right format directly to someone. But you know, you can do it. Whether or not it makes a significant difference, I couldn't say. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I'm just looking to see if any, any other questions.
Can I ask another question? Am I being too stupid here?
Pushy? Are you being too pushy like those
Yes,
those
yes.
scientist women are so pushy?
Yeah, I'm in security.
As
So,
opposed to those scientist men, right?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can, there's so much institutional prejudice in so many areas. It turns our stomachs, but we got to power through it. And yes, please do ask, though.
I think the question would be, I mean, many people, I've seen it all over the place. So we saw one resume here, and I think it was Anat's, Anat resume, where she has a line that she's looking for opportunities, and you suggested to remove it.
This, yeah.
Available to new projects. Now I put into my about section line currently exploring opportunities in application security field in my resume, Stella. Do I do that? Do I have to remove it? Get rid of it? What?
Well, I don't think it's to your advantage.
Okay.
Right? Because it's not about that you're looking for a job. It's about that you can do this job. So when you present yourself as someone who is ready to do it, who has experience, it's stronger than I'm looking. Because you can also, so let's go to me and view my profile and see this, show recruiters you're open. So this is, I'm just looking at my profile and I can edit this, but this is actually a section in itself. So I could put in the jobs I want, put in full-time, but only recruiters. That's what I would go for. And so you are telling the important people, you're not telling everybody.
I see.
Because, like the thing that was mentioned early on, some managers, if you are working and had that turned on, your manager might say, you're leaving us?
Yeah.
And you might say, yeah, because of the way you're leading this team, I got to get out of here. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. So you just keep it to yourself, but let recruiters know. That will help a lot. Let's see.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. So what else did we want to talk about? Any other things that have been on your mind out there?
How far back do you think we should go on LinkedIn for those of us that have been working for a while?
Yeah, 15 years in general, but it's in the context of what job you're going for. So if I'm going for CTO, VP of engineering, I would go back the full career because they want to know. If I'm going for engineering manager, I don't think I would need to go more than 15 years. Because as an engineering manager, my competition could be people with 5 years. So I don't get so much into touting the number of years in your about or your resume. It's really the number of projects. That's what matters the most. Let's see if I can find a couple of good examples to show you. Jeff has a lot of good things going he used to teach a class on advanced LinkedIn. So I showed his picture before. It's a homegrown picture. You know, it's not any super fancy picture, but it works really well. In the background, he chose to put a techie wireframe because he's into technology. So he has 3 titles. He's an executive in those 3 areas, which I normally wouldn't recommend, but you'll see how he pulls it off. And he also says, I'm specialized in these 3 areas. And this is where he works now. So let us go to about for him. And now this is a good about section. It's 2 short paragraphs. I am a global high-tech sales and marketing executive that spans with leading channel sales, worldwide marketing, and business unit teams. So those are the 3 things. Known for cultivating channels. So he now goes into a little more specialty. And then he says, in action, I engage and enable global networks. So it's bigger, global oriented. And he also has all these keywords down here. So it's a good example. He's got all of his, chronology, his university stuff, sales and marketing leadership, channel partners, go-to-market strategy. So those are 3 big things. He's got those as the main endorsements, and then he's got some recommendations, which is good. Having 2 recommendations by people in good positions for the job you want to have next is a good way to go. Any other?
So you suggest to cut off my experience to the last 15 years?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yep. Now, so I got contacted once by a sourcer recruiter from Google. And he said, Bob, didn't you and I work together at Apple? And I said, Tom, we did, but it's longer ago than I put on my resume. And he just laughed. So his job at Google is to go out and grab a bunch of resumes and have them in a pool according to certain Boolean searches for these kind of people. And when the other recruiters ask him, give me some, specialty full stack developers, data scientists, he sends them over. So Google does that. Good for data, right? They're always keeping records on anyone who has interviewed at any point with them. And he was just curious when he ran into me for a particular job. And I give that advice to all my clients, except, the more senior people who need to show that legacy. And by the way, in the 15 years, you want to try to change your job title every 3 years. And if your title didn't change, you can change it by having the same job title dash and a little specialty area afterwards. And, it just helps to show evolution and growth.
Every 3 years. Okay.
Yeah, 3 to 4 or 5 years, depends on the amount of time you're at the company.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Check out Path Forward if you're trying to get back into workforce. Is Path Forward a company or a book? Didn't quite catch that.
Here is another
Path Forward
question.
is an organization that is pushing returnships in companies. They're helping the companies do returnships, which are like, they're not internships, but they're programs to help people who've been away from the job get back to work.
Fantastic. Thanks. See, I learned so much at these things too. That is really good to know. Wonderful.
May I add a few points, Robert, if I may?
Yes.
About the path forward, I had a chance to talk with the founder of the company on another occasion. It turns out like the deal, it's really cool. The deal is to put people back in the workforce, right? And also, their primary target are people who are out of universities, colleges, and trying to get into companies.
Okay.
Yeah, and so what they do is they sort of, schedule interviews and mentoring sessions with, say, product manager at Google, Facebook, or all the top companies, and train you. But in return, this is the catch, right? I think you have to sign a contract with them. Like you need to give a percentage of your salary up to, I don't know what that is, but you have to sign it. Maybe it's like
Oh,
a year. I have no idea, but so I'm not sure how that would work for everyone. Thank you.
that is very, very, very helpful. Yeah, that's like we say, don't pay a recruiter a retainer in advance, like a headhunter. Those are not the people you want to work with unless you've got a very, very good recommendation. You want a recruiter who's going to work for you and benefit when you get hired, not before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so that doesn't sound so good for me. So I'll have to investigate path forward. I like the idea, but the details matter. As you scientists know, it's in the details. So I write a lot of posts, Tina says, after 10 what I thought were really great contributions on debating the time commitment. My ex-colleagues say the posts are great, but they aren't regularly liking them. Yeah, okay. So by post, it's an article, right? Yeah, you're posting an article. Basically, you have the basis for a book. So think about that. How could you connect all these articles together? And you may have your own website, and in your site, at your site, you could have an ongoing list of, blog entries, but by topic, so people could click around, and when they come to find you on LinkedIn, you have a link to your website, and then you have all these posts there that are now a portfolio of your ideas. So I wouldn't say it's a waste of time. By the way, when you do so many posts, LinkedIn does push you up as a very active member, and they like active members. So behind the scenes, LinkedIn should be having you should appear in searches higher because of this, even though people are not liking it so much. Okay. Okay. Anyone else want to do an example look at, let's see.
Oh, there is another question
Mm-hmm.
from Anat. Why add our email in the About section?
Oh, yeah. So let's look more. So there's no contact information here that I can see. So the way to contact Jeff is a message, and you might have to be first or second level to send him a message, unless you pay for LinkedIn Premium like he does. So why would you have that there? So this is to the point where you want to advertise that you're available. You don't have to say you are. You can tell recruiters behind the scenes, but you actually have your email right here, so they could just go there, right? So they don't have to message you on LinkedIn. They could do it personally. So some people might say, I don't want people sending me personal emails, so don't put it there. It's just up to you as a preference.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's okay that my profile starts with principal software engineer.
Oh, let's go back.
I mean, we just talked about cutting it down to 15 years.
Stella, you got to get out of this space stuff. I mean, it's too busy behind you.
Okay, I'll get out. All right, thank you.
I think you should make, you know what? The beautiful site of SpaceX launching, that gorgeous industrial design in the blue sky. See, I find this a little distracting.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I just stuck it there.
It's like you're looking, saying, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this thing? Only kidding.
Yeah. How about my picture?
Well, I think you could work on the smile. So I would say it's okay for women to smile, but you can have a scientific smile.
That's what I thought it is. Okay.
Well, maybe you have to go into, let's see, psychiatry smile or psychologist smile or whatever in science. So yeah, I would perk it up a little bit. And also I wouldn't lean on your hand. I would be more active looking out straight ahead.
Okay.
Let's see, who else? Let's see.
Yeah, you were going to look
your
into
title,
principle.
but see, again, this is your title. And then you
Oh,
want to do something different because your specialty is information and application security. So I would put software engineer, straight line mentor, and then the curly line information and application security, because mentor is a title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So let me see. Let's look at Megan. It's a great picture. Those eyes are like, woo. She just like, it's interesting. Human beings are always attracted to eyes. We look at eyes first on a picture. So in your picture, make sure your eyes are sort of clear. And that is a nice scene in nature. Digital and innovation and strategy leader, product executive. And actually, she's in fintech. So it's interesting that she didn't put that there. Now, there's her about. Moments that matter. I use this expression a lot. Ask my team and they'll confirm I'm absolutely committed to identifying those moments that matter most to our end. So this is a very nice, personalized, this is what you get when you get me. Leveraging years of experience, not how many years. Also, she did a little bit of a break because she has little kids right now. One little kid in particular. Two are older from like stepsons. I build, optimize, and lead cross-functional teams. I currently lead global commercial digital products at Silicon Valley Bank. I'm known for leading with transparency, very values-oriented. And then here are the kinds of areas that she excels in. I'm always open to connecting with those who share my passion for India. There we go. So that's a clever way of doing it. So Silicon Valley Bank, by the way, yeah, so she doesn't have a current job listed. And when you look at her jobs, you'll see that she's got some pretty good titles and pretty good tenure. So she goes back farther. And in her case, I do not think that it's a negative that she goes back farther, because these are all, impressive places. Anderson Consulting, and, she's not working now. There's a gap of 6 months almost. So she's just about to get hired. She had 2 offers. I think she'll be starting work next week. And she is an active parent, really, in her decision of what job to take. It was a lot about what we call work-life balance. So these people are going to keep me from being a good mom, or can they appreciate my focus, productivity, and time on the job versus just time in general? 40 hours a week is a really good amount of time to be productive and get great results. Once you're getting up there into 50 and 60, you're going to start making more mistakes. So she's pretty good at explaining that to people. It's sort of an agile mindset about that. Yeah. Any other questions that may have popped up in the last few minutes?
There is another question. How many items should I include in the featured section? It's from Joyce.
Okay.
George.
Wait, let me see. Let's go back to Ajay, because he's pretty good at this, as I recall. Now, Ajay has had 4 jobs in the last 2.5 years. and he still does this stuff when he doesn't have to, but he is highly desired because he leads clinical trials. And a lot of times the trials don't work. So then another company hires him. So then you'll see about entrepreneurial biotechnology leader. I am adept at transforming data, superlative interpersonal communicator. So for many women who are shy and bashful, be like a man in this case. And it's true, he's really a good communicator. So he's not bashful about saying his strengths. And then he actually shows his own website and his Gmail. So that's great. Activity, people he's following, experience. So actually he put them down here under Genentech. He has some examples of things. So I think that's what the question is about. How many items in featured? I don't know. I think 3 or 4 would be plenty myself, because you know how long a person looks at a resume, a recruiter, right? It's about 11 seconds. So I wouldn't put a lot of work in overloading. It's like some people say that Mark Twain said this, but it turns out in research he didn't. It came long before him. If I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. So this is sufficient about, it's got all the necessary information. It's very much what is in his resume too, to be honest with you, because I know his resume. Okay, so yeah, the whiteboard is fantastic, Tina's saying. And you know, you may have some scenes from your work that show you at work, you know, and the more it's with people or activity, the better, because people like to look at other people or nature scenes, or, oh, here's one. This is one. I don't know if I showed you this before. I showed you Bill's. I just really appreciate Bill's profile because that background photo to me connotates astronomy, science, the future, creativity, innovation, light bulb, but it's just the planets, you know, at work. And then here he is, and that's a natural look. You know, it's business casual, and he's, you know, he's following the advice that I gave earlier about the kind of picture. And then this too, information design and strategy, specializing in user experience design ethics, cognitive psychology journal. I think he's sort of mixed things up a little bit here, but those are keywords, and he comes up very, very well in searches for UX design people. And notice how much easier it is to read with that white space. Oh, this is what I showed earlier, so showing it again. But that image that he gives, and this company is very interesting. It's a startup, and they are trying to get clients to sell services to make sure that your product is not advertised in a place that ruins your brand, because sometimes you lose track of who's placing your ads. And you know, a really good community-oriented product could appear in a not very community-oriented place, and this company will tell you it's there and you get rid of it, or you pay them a little more, they'll never let it go there. They can sort out. They're really about finding untruth in the internet. Okay. Well, I'm starting to fade a little bit from talking. I've talked an awful lot. I'm sorry. When we do these as workshops, you guys are doing a lot more on your own, but it can be more challenging. So any final words from my leaders from Women in Big Data?
Hi, this is Regina. I just want to let you know that we will be creating a blog that will include a link to this video and will be posted on womeninbigdata.org within about a week. I wanted to thank Bob for his ever-present, fabulous presentation and knowledge sharing, and for Stella and Marula for doing the heavy lifting on the women in big data side, and thank everybody for participating. And just stay tuned because there's more in the Bob Loftis series. And also Bob is available for private help as well. So I just definitely want to make sure that I put a little plug in for Bob. Stella or Marula, is there anything you'd like to say before we punt off?
Thanks, Regina. That was good. And thanks, Bob. This was a great session.
Yeah, that
yeah.
was a great, sorry.
Oh, go on, go on.
It was a great session, and now we see a slide from Bob with our next session, hopefully in a month or so, with and all sessions with Bob are great. We had 43.
I agree.
Yeah, we had 43 people on call today.
Oh, that's great.
At some point, I think this is great. This is great.
Yeah, and I'll also put this out because I help out a nonprofit, Bay Area Cancer Connections, and also a group called Breathing Spaces that are about helping caregivers. So if you have any friends or relatives who are the primary caregiver for a loved one who has a chronic illness or even dementia, look up Bay Area Cancer Connections or Breathing Spaces, and they can get help from a few of us coaches in getting through the hard times that caregivers have, considering we're even more sequestered now. And let's face it, there's just so many stressful vibes in the air as we're all coming to grips with things that need to change as quickly as we could possibly get going on changing some of these institutional things that impact us. So this was really fun. Thank you all so much. Back in August.
All right, thank you.
All right, great.
Thank
and
you.
I want to just very quickly meetup. We have more meetups coming this week, next week, I think. Please stay tuned on our meetup webpage, meetup group.
Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great evening. I'm going to be stopping the recording and ending the meeting.